In 2014, nearly 3 years after Osamu's Blink and You Miss It cameo in Macross Frontier's second movie, Bandai released the DX YF-19 Advance toy. More than 4 years later, Bandai refreshed the mold with some minor tweaks to produce Osamu's YF-19 from Macross Plus. This release was bundled with a wide array of accessories and dubbed a full set pack. If you want to know the difference between the DX YF-19 and the DX YF-19 Advance, click the card now. More than 5 years later, Bandai dusted off the mold and gave us a reissue of the YF-19, this time dropping the full set moniker. Today, ScorchedEarthToys@anymoon.com answers the burning question: how is this release different from the full set release from 2018? As you would expect, the small price decrease with the name change. The biggest difference is the lack of accessories. The crux of this comes down to this tray here, which is not included in the most recent release. Fast packs, gone. Full drive, gone. Forearm cannon, gone. Wing-mounted weaponry, all of it not included in the most recent reissue. The full set included an extra baggie full of hardpoint connectors for those wing-mounted weapons, and since they're gone, so is that baggie. One sad note, the full set release comes with more weapons than can fit on a YF-19, but if you were thinking you could buy the bare YF-19 and have it fully equipped with the full set, is not gonna happen. There aren't enough hardpoint connectors with that full set release. Curiously, Bandai reworked and simplified their pinpoint barrier punch effect and included 2 of them in the newest release. I suspect we'll see those same parts included with the upcoming DX YF-21 toy. The contents mutual to both releases are the gun, 2 Osamu figures, one with and one without a helmet, a Lang or Yang co-pilot figure, a Gwalk neck cover, and 3 pairs of fixed posed hands. Those of you who sat through my nearly hour-long tour of the full set toy may remember this complaint as I compared it to the VF-19 Advance. For some reason that I can only assume involves huffing glue, Bandai changed how the vertical stabilizers attached to the YF-19 with disastrous results. So here's the full set version, and here is that problem in action. I can bring this vertical stabilizer down this way. As I bring it back up, the thing just pops right off and out, and it is super annoying to handle. Now, as we look at it, you can see there's those 2 little teeth there, and it is clearly a different mechanism than what we have on this newer release. It goes back to that VF-19 Advance where everything is solid here, and watch this. I can handle this no problem. So on the newest release, they have rectified that issue they introduced on the YF-19 full set version. Again, I do have a very involved, long review of the full set toy, and this toy really just improves that vertical stabilizer, but is otherwise the exact same thing. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. Complaints with the full set, I wish these canards had little locking detents to them. The wings can be a little too easy to jostle. I wish they were either stiffer or also had detents. Nothing has changed on this version, so these are still going to get knocked out of place. These can get knocked out of place. They're stiff enough out of the box, but you know, after some time of going into maybe the high speed mode, where you do this action a few times, you might end up getting those a little bit loose, and then that would be more of a concern. There's no changes to things like the landing gear, which lock in the forward position and spin. The front landing gear is still very difficult to use, very tight fit, and it has the collapsing bit to it. So it tucks into a very small place, which is very impressive, but it does require very thin fingers, maybe even tweezers to pull out until it gets somewhat loose enough to handle. Fighter mode, still very impressive. Let's check out Gwalk mode. And again, this video, we're really looking for changes from the last release. If you're looking for just a review of the YF-19, again, check out that review there. As we move to Gwalk mode, I'll reiterate, it's the same toy, but with less accessories. But what a lot of people want to know as you transform these toys is, does one handle better than the other? Are tolerances slightly better? I don't know if I could really render much of a verdict, but I'll tell you my experience. On the new toy, the wings, this little joint right here at the intake, was very difficult to move. But the pegs that go into the legs popped free a lot easier. On my full set toy, the pegs go into the legs rock solid, and it's very hard to pop them free. But this joint near the intake where the wings fold down is very fluid, so it was a little bit easier. So I think really it's gonna be depends on how yours was made, varies from toy to toy, but basically the same. All the pilot figures and hands are unchanged. There is a small change to the included display stand, and that is this arm here on the newest release is reinforced more. On this arm, it's the original flimsy version. They introduced this reinforced one to deal with heavy accessories like the armor parts for the VF-31, and then I think they made the wise decision that they should just do that for every vehicle, and I think it turns out better. It's a little less wobbly as we turn these toys. Speaking of wobbly, fighter mode for both these toys, the cradle has a problem where it can rock back and forth. Not a big fan of that. I do think, going back to the feel of the new release versus the old release, I feel like it pegs in a little more solid in Gwalk mode with the newest release than it did on the older version, so I noted that. But again, that could be a case-by-case basis. Also, I think this wing, very flimsy on my full set. A little sturdier on this toy, but that might be, again, just doing the full speed mode a couple times might get this toy just as loose as this one. All right, let's go on to Batroid. Both toys come with 4 parts representing the pinpoint barrier punch effect. For the newest toy, you get 2 punch effects, and you have these 2 little connector pieces. The longer side of the connector piece goes into the pinpoint barrier punch. Now, one bummer here is you can't have the shield on the toy if you're going to use the left hand pinpoint barrier punch. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there, and then I'm just gonna press it into the hole, and boom, now he's doing that punch effect. We can just pop this arm off. I already got it installed on here, and boom. This guy's 2-fisting pinpoint barrier punch. Let me show you what the full set looked like. The full set version comes with 1 punch, but it's got these 3 swirly pieces that peg into it, and it's already got an attachment piece attached on the inside. You do have to line up kind of how the connector fits on there, and then apply pressure, and it'll fit on, and it kind of gives you some angle ability. But there you go, that is now the full set version punch. Let's compare them. The full set version of the pinpoint barrier punch, clearly more dramatic. It's got a lot going on. It's very exciting. The new version, very basic. Having 2 is all right, but where did the shield go on this side? So I don't know that I would honestly ever use the other one. But there's a benefit to these being so simple, and that is that they are very light. When I use the full set version, there's a little bit of pressure going on at the shoulder joint, and I don't love that. It's pretty heavy. So while I do like the look of it, and while I do think I would only use one, I do see a benefit to the smaller, simpler version. One thing to note with these pinpoint barrier punches, you really want to pull straight out when you remove them. Otherwise, this piece can get stuck on the wrist, and if that happens, you're gonna need something like a pry tool just to get in there and pop it free. Hey, but did they change the detail underneath the head at all? Not that there was anything wrong with it. No, exactly the same. Now, someone more observant than me pointed out that Bandai does something weird with these chest stripes. They go sort of black underneath, then red, then black again, instead of just mirroring what happens on the shoulder where it's a red stripe on top and a black stripe on the bottom. If you were hoping they would fix that in this release, they have not. It's exactly the same as the full set. So the DX YF-19, still a very good toy. The vertical stabilizers make this version so much better to handle, and I really appreciate that. The slider in the backpack was also smoother on this one, which helped with transformation. Do check out my separate transformation guide. Overall, minor tolerance differences. Usually they work out for the better, so I did have a more positive experience with the newer release. It's just a shame you lose so many of those accessories, but I think for a lot of people, they didn't need those accessories. They're gonna be perfectly happy with this release, and it's still a very good toy. Check out anymoon.com for the full article. Leave a comment if you got any questions, concerns, disagreements. I'm happy to respond. Subscribe, and thanks for watching, everyone.